Okay. Since we have 3 candidates, we want to make sure to be mindful of your time since we only have about an hour with you today. The recording will be posted for our members who couldn't be here today, who might still want to watch and hear your answers to the questions. So today's forum is for candidates for the Board of Regents to the Nevada System of Higher Education, and it's being hosted by us, the Nevada Faculty Alliance. I'm Chantal Marshall, the Vice President of NFA and faculty at Nevada State University. We'll begin with a statement that helps us create an inclusive and harassment-free context for our event today. The Nevada Faculty Alliance is committed to providing an environment free from discrimination and harassment. We ask all participants here today to embrace our values of equity and equality and conduct themselves in a manner consistent with those values during today's discussion. At every NFA event, there is a designee at the first point of contact for anyone who thinks they have experienced discriminatory, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior. We urge you to contact the designee if you have any concerns. Today's designee is Kent Irvin. You can email him at kent.irvin@nevadafacultyalliance.org. So today we have 3 candidates from Regent District 1, which is here in Southern Nevada. It's the northern part of Clark County. So we have Mr. Matthew Bowman, Mr. Carlos Fernandez, and Ms. Ida Zieler. Thank you so much for being here. Just in terms of logistics, we have about 8 questions, as well as time for opening and closing statements from each candidate. We ask that each candidate take no more than 2 minutes per answer. I'll raise my hand when the 2 minutes are up, and I'll let you know if we do need to move on. If time allows, we'll take questions from the audience. And for those in the audience, you'll need to submit those in the chat to one of us in NFA so we can ask it for you. We'll go in varying orders for each question, so we'll let you know who's up and who's on deck for the questions. I'll be asking questions alongside Jim New, our NFA president, and Kent Irvin, past president. Okay, we're ready to actually get started. So Kent, you have the first question.
Okay, so this will be your opening statement with 2 minutes, and we'll go in the order of Matthew Bowen, Carlos Fernandez, and Ida Zieler. So for your opening statement in 2 minutes, please tell us about your experience and background that qualify you to serve on the Board of Regents, especially your experience in higher education. What makes you the most qualified candidate? Matt?
Yes, so I am Matthew Bowen. I own a home and I live here in North Las Vegas. I bought my house in 2018. I am a transplant from Augusta, Arkansas by way of the Air Force. My grandpa taught school for 42 years at the collegiate level and at the high school level. I've been to 4 different colleges, from private, community, as well as online while I was over in South Abu Dhabi. I went to college at Baltimore and did some studying there. What I do right now is I'm an entrepreneur here in the Las Vegas Valley. I have an agency doing employee benefits and insurance strategies for businesses and individuals. I do a lot of recruiting and retention strategies for businesses. So I'm on the side that sees these businesses trying to get these highly educated employees out of the college system and everything. Me personally, my goal is to approach the position with bringing rebranding education with innovation. I work with a lot of businesses out here in the Valley that are open to doing partnerships. They want to see employees, highly educated people come out to the market and employ them. So we don't have these college students getting these degrees and saying we have nowhere to actually place the degrees, we can't get a job. So I'm bringing rebranding, marketing, refresh ideas, innovations to where I actually work with business development, building partnerships out here in the Valley and strategies to actually bring the 2 pieces together.
Okay, thank you. Carlos?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Carlos Fernandez. I am proud to be raised in Las Vegas, originally from Colombia. I am a product of our Clark County School District. I'm a graduate of Northwest Career and Technical Academy, where it was my first experience really in understanding where career technical education really plays a major role into the transition in the pipeline from K through 12 into higher education. Upon graduating from Northwest Career and Tech, I attended UNLV, where I was proud to be able to serve ultimately as student body president of the undergraduate student body, and where I got to represent students in their various interests. Following my graduation from UNLV, I actually worked for the vice president for student affairs, establishing a passport program through the student affairs and getting us connected with the Department of State. And following that, I was also a lobbyist with the Vegas Chamber of Commerce, where my portfolio focused on K through 12 education, higher ed, and workforce development. I am now the executive director of the American Institute of Architects, where I get to work directly with our members to ensure that not only am I representing architecture, but that we're also being able to interact with higher education to ensure that our systems are responsive to the needs of both employers and the students. We faced some issues in the past with that not being the case. So it really comes down to how do we connect both the workforce and the students so that everybody here is set up for success. So thank you all so much for your time, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Ida? Ida, you're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Perfect. Not a Zoom meeting if somebody doesn't have problems with their mute, right? My name is Ida Zieler, and I am a former educator. I guess I'm a current educator. I spent 19 years as a certified teacher. I have also been an online ESL tutor for adults and children, and my students were all over the world. And I also am currently a history fact checker and proofreader for an educational curriculum company. I received my educational perspective, really began in Europe. I was a military child, so I moved around and started school in Germany, and then did my middle school and high school years on the US border in El Paso, Texas. And I got my degree from Brigham Young University in 2004 in history, and then went back to Texas to get my teaching certificate and began my career there. I currently homeschool my 4 children, and my own daughter is going to be a senior in high school, and I really want to focus my energies on where my children are heading, which is up to the university system. My husband has a PhD, so I was alongside him as he went through his doctoral program, and saw the struggles from the student side, and learned where there's great ways that faculty and the board can be an asset to their students as they're going through that level of degree. And then I also am a planning commissioner for the city of North Las Vegas currently. So I have connections to the community and to the development that's happening and the growth that's really being seen here in North Las Vegas. And I'm especially excited to emphasize the accountability, accessibility, and affordability of higher education. I'd like to see a reduction in student fees, a connection of employees for our current area to programs with the university system. I'd like to see an expansion of workforce and apprenticeship programs to create a pathway for our veterans community to utilize the university systems here. And I'd like to see Nevada become Nevada students get employed in Nevada. If we've invested in them, I'd like for them to turn and invest in Nevada. And one other thing I'd like to say is that you're fine.
Time. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I have the next question. My name's Jim New. I'm the NFA president, and we will start with Carlos, then move on to Ida, and then Matt. And the question is, can you explain what you believe the role of higher education is in Nevada and how this informs your priorities for NSHE and the Board of Regents? Carlos?
Sure, thank you so much. Higher education is the largest workforce arm in the state of Nevada. Without good workforce development, our state would not be set up for success in the way that it actually is today. We have, of course, our colleges and our four-year institutions, and now, of course, Nevada State University with its new designation and research institution. All of this is, I am informed by what education does and the need for it, because I used to work for the Chamber of Commerce, and I understand that our higher education institutions are here to ensure that our students are successful and that they can be employable upon graduation. One of the things that I have noticed from higher education, I'm really proud of the shift, is that it no longer is about just requiring or acquiring a four-year degree program. It really is about expanding the way that we are teaching students and understanding that there is a need for post-secondary education, but not necessarily a four-year degree program. We're seeing a lot of success, and a lot of employers are asking for more students that can go into fields like HVAC technicians, et cetera. And we're seeing a lot of growth with that. And I think that our education system is should be responsive to that. I think that Nevada has done a good job at implementing a lot more, but I'm also seeing that there are a lot of incredible programs that are specific to some institutions, like the Teacher Pipeline program that UNLV has, in addition to Nevada State University, and us being able to expand that so that we can really be able to meet the demand of the workforce and the needs of the state as well, in order to, in turn, attract more business and attract more population here to make this Nevada a lot stronger.
All right, thank you. Ida, to you now.
I think that the university system is an opportunity for us to meet students where they are and then help them shine forward. That means that we have to have a robust enough system to welcome in students that are coming from public, from private, from magnet, from charter, from homeschool situations, and that we need to help them reach an array of goals. So interacting with the business side in order to make sure that our systems are actually producing the skill set that that businesses need is vital. And I think that NCHE, specifically being a policy-making board, needs to concentrate on empowering their campuses to reach out into the communities. Specifically, my own husband's company has a deal where they will assist with paying for graduate schools, but the school they have to deal with is ASU. Why is the Nevada employer not also including Nevada university systems? So I'd like to see the Board of Regents be a body that can help bridge some of that communication loss. And I'd like to see them move out of micromanaging the presidents and move into helping create kind of an arch that can create a successful system for our students, because that's the ultimate goal.
All right, thank you. And Matthew, if you'd like to wrap up on this question.
Yes, to me, the goal for Nevada schools of higher education is to effectively educate students using modern day application, allowing opportunities to open up upon graduation. Being a resource and guide students through their educational process and adapting to accommodate their needs as they change. You know, our school system has improved its technology, improved its knowledge behind its teachers, but hasn't improved the way it is drawing the picture towards the path of success for the students. And I think that is where the actual miss is. I think we have the talent. I think we have the technology, but we have to rebrand how we're marketing education to students and draw a clearer picture to the success that is right outside these doors. We have opportunities with industries that have they are looking for highly educated employees, be it casinos and cybersecurity, hospitality, be it injury law firms. We just have to do better at painting the picture for the students upon entry to get to that successful point upon exit.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, I have the next question again. So higher ed and public higher education of that is funded by the state and by students. But often we find the funding is, well, it's low compared to other states. For example, for the last few sessions, when the state has funded COLAs for its other state employees, it has not funded at the same level as other state funded NCHE at the same level as other state agencies. So the question is, in what practical ways can NCHE or the regents convince the legislature and governor to make higher education a higher priority? And Ida, you will go first.
Well, everybody likes to see a good return for their investment. And so I think that one of the things NSHE can personally do is continue to strengthen their own relationship and their own, sorry, my mind stopped, their own reputation with the legislation. Because when the legislation has confidence in what NSHE is trying to do, then they will be more inclined to fund them. So I think that continuing to improve their own reputation is something big that NSHE can do. And one of the ways they can do that is stop the revolving door of the chancellor. If they can hire well and they can cut loose and let their chancellor do his job or her job, then it would allow the legislature to be confident in funding the goals that NSHE sets forth.
Okay, thank you. And Matthew, you're next.
In any conversations like that, you know, when it comes to advocating on behalf of an industry or a business, the idea is to find out what's important to the legislator at the time. Like why, what are they doing? What are they leaning towards initially? And identifying those pain points and lean to it. I mean, we see the tons of people that are moving to Las Vegas in droves. We see the economic impact of adding football teams, baseball teams, everything else. If we can draw a correlation between those and properly educating the people that are here, are moving here, developing an education system that is flaunted as much as our entertainment industry, then it would be more ideal for legislation to get behind. I think drawing those parallels, having that coordination between the industries that they don't mind putting money behind, you know, providing those facts and statistics, that's where you got to go. You have to paint the picture to the point to where saying no wouldn't make sense.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you so much. I have been proud to be able to go up to Carson City since my time as student body president and throughout different aspects of my career, even most recently as the board member of the UNLV Alumni Association. And higher education has always been at the forefront of these different, of course, higher ed institutions, but also in the business community. We understand that we need to be able to invest in our education system in order for us to have better outcomes, not only for our employees, but also our citizens as a whole. I would 100% agree with you all that when it comes to COLA increases, higher education has really been left behind. I am a true believer that our biggest assets are our people. And in this case, they're students, our staff, our faculty, and everybody who makes higher education possible and makes higher education run. I've seen the numbers before, even when I was student body president, where we saw that the faculty and staff weren't as well paid as other institutions, either similarly to size or based on population. And I think that we need to do better at being able to attract these different folks to be able to come onto our various campuses. Our institutions have different priorities in terms of, you know, what they're focusing on workforce wise, et cetera. But we need to be able to find the people. I know personally, I know that our architecture program at UNLV struggles to be able to find these talented folks. It's because it's what academia is offering to them isn't enough. I mean, the reality is that people need to be able to have food on their plates, and we really need to be able to prioritize higher education as we do other aspects of our budget. I know that the current governor and previous governor as well, they're both big on higher education, but we need to really be able to show that in order for us to have the best people come work at our institutions, we need to be able to invest in them and in our students.
Thank you so much.
I have the next question, doing a lot of things. So this question has a little bit of context to it as well. And we will be going in the order of Matthew and then Carlos and then Ida. So in 2023, last year, the board approved those cost of living adjustments. So 12% in the first year and 11% in the next year. So in 2023, 12%, and in 2024, 11%. That sounds like big increases, but this was after years of cost of living adjustments, well below those of state employees in collective bargaining units, making it really difficult to recruit and retain high quality faculty. That seems to be an invitation to move to collective bargaining for all faculty at the state level. We would like to know, what is your view of the value of collective bargaining to NSHE? So we'll start with Matthew.
You know, I was actually reading over that after seeing the questionnaire and seeing how the collective bargaining agreement and the attempt to push to a union for the state workers. I honestly, I think it's great. And the reason I'm saying that is you have to be innovative in strategies to increase retention. You have to be innovative in strategies to increase education. If you want results, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting them to change. Am I saying this is the silver bullet? No. But until we have stuff fixed, we have to be open to doing what has shown to work in other areas. We have to, be it there's no other reason other than to support the teachers and support the students. So I think anytime that you can come together as a collective, one, it gives you more power legislative wise, and it gives you more control over your own destiny and your own career. So if this isn't a whole move to improve the system and provide better education for the students and their statistics backing it up, I'm all for it completely. Until we get to a point to where we have plateaued in the success of our students, which hopefully never happens, then we always have to be open-minded to add in more value to the teachers and to the students.
Thank you so much. Carlos is next.
Sure. Well, I just alluded to this with the understanding that it's been a while since, all of you have been able to receive these much needed raises. And I think all of you who have been impacted by this have really had to hold the brunt of it, right? You've had to continue at these higher education institutions. And it really shows, again, that people are our most valuable asset here. So thank you all for staying around. I fully support the collective bargaining rights for NSHE professionals. I think that it's not only something that is granted to everybody here by law, but also a really great way to be able to elevate what all of your professions do. And again, really continue to push on, you are all teaching and are part of the success of the work as the workforce arm of the state. And I think that needs to continue to be the case. And again, it really is about telling that specific story, but it also is about having that collective voice for you all to be able to go to Carson City as a union and be able to really advocate for something that you do deserve. We oftentimes have dealt with a lot of blows to our budget on a state level, but we've also had really great days as well. And I think that when those days come and that is available, that you all should get a piece of that pie. And I've seen other institutions that have, and it's not about just fighting over this. It is about just being able to advocate for something that is what you all deserve, in addition to be able to retain all of you, the talent that makes our students successful, our university system successful, and again, our state successful as a whole.
Thank you. And Ida, same question.
Well, I like the saying, teaching is heart work. I have it on my wall, actually. But we also know that teaching has to also put food on the table. And so I think that collective bargaining is a vital tool because it brings the correct voices to the negotiating table so that solutions can actually be found. I echo that we appreciate those who have stuck through the tight years, and it's important that we move forward properly investing in our higher education. And I think that along with that, some innovative ways of interacting with our faculty. I was just at an affordable housing conference and was speaking with the president of a university that they're providing down payment assistance for teachers that are coming in order to attract them as a hiring tool, and that they're having some creative ways of bringing in their faculty. And so I think that there's definitely some discussions to be had and partnerships to build. They're also building housing for their student body and partnering with the cities in order to finance that and providing community land for it. And so I'd like to see more communication like that happening, and collective bargaining would assist in getting some of those innovative ideas implemented.
Great, thank you.
We had a follow-up on that.
I'm so sorry. That was my fault.
Go ahead.
I skimmed ahead. Yes, I am happy to follow up. So same order because it is part of the same question. So our most recent collective bargaining unit is at the College of Southern Nevada, and their initial collective bargaining negotiations took over 3 years to reach an agreement. So our follow-up question is about how you feel about getting parties to a conclusion much more quickly. Would you support binding arbitration upon impasse? So if a negotiation could not be reached in a timely manner, do you support binding arbitration? So Matthew first, yes.
So I've been in negotiation roles for a total of 8 years throughout my career. I have always had issues in political spaces where people can't reach a negotiation personally. I feel like that's your job, that's your position. I don't know if it's a qualification thing or an experience thing personally, but there's always a middle ground. That's just the reality of how negotiations work. There's always a middle ground. I don't think anything should take 3 years of negotiation unless we're sitting at the table across from each other for 3 years negotiating. If I'm going to go negotiation with somebody and they're putting me off that long, they're going to have to be ignoring my calls, personally, because the reality is we can't be pushing off litigation. We can't have people on standby because, like you said, I was in a similar situation in the military out here. They update their pay relative to cost of living, probably about 5 years, 7 years too late at a time. But that's because of all the negotiation. That's the pushing off. That's the red tape. That's everything. How bad do we want to fix education? How bad are we willing to sit across from the table and come up with a solution for our students? That would be my question. That would be my approach. I've done this long enough to where I can bring two parties to a positive result and an outcome that benefits both.
Okay, Carlos.
Thank you so much. The answer is yes, absolutely. I would support being able to have an arbitration and somebody who is an outside party being able to help folks come to a middle ground in order to move things forward. I don't believe that the staff and faculty who are there trying to negotiate in good faith should be held back and should have to wait this long in order for them to be able to see a better outcome for their own career and their own future. So again, people are our biggest assets, and I think we need to remember that. So being able to use that as a tool, I think would be imperative.
And Ida.
So I think the track record of North Las Vegas city government is a good place to start. Things move along pretty quickly there. We're known as a community that builds and that can innovate. And I would like to bring that skill set to the negotiating table. We definitely 3 years is not an acceptable timeline. And I would support bringing in arbitration if needed, because the mission of NFA is to bring forward the higher education, the successful students through the system, and that is stalling a negotiation is only handicapping that mission. So yes, I guess would be my short answer.
Thank you so much. Now we can move
Oh,
on.
thank you. Yes, and thank you all. This question will go first to Carlos, then Ida, then Matthew. Most candidates have told us that the region should hire good chancellors and presidents and let them run the institutions without micromanaging them. But the Board of Regents tends to get their reports only filtered through the president's or the chancellor's offices, with little, if any, independent validation from the boots on the ground at the campuses. As a regent, how will you monitor how the chancellor and presidents are performing their jobs? Carlos?
Thank you, Jim. That's a great question. I was reading some of the reports that you all put forward in terms of the new funding formula, and that was there were some figures that were shocking to me, with millions of dollars that are unaccounted for. About 100 million of that is assumed to be coming from student fees. I think we need more transparency. I think transparency to start from the top. So that means getting all of the information from all university presidents in order to ensure that our higher education institutions are treated equitably based on the things that each institution is assigned to accomplish. So I I agree that there has to be some opportunity for university presidents to be able to do their job, and for us as the Board of Regents to be able to hire a chancellor that can also do a lot. When I was student body president, Chancellor White was there, and there's been a lot of transition from that since then. And that wasn't too long ago, but it really does sort of speak to the inability for the Board of Regents in the past to allow even the chancellor to do their own job in order to be able to push these policies. As a policy making board, I think be able to require that that these things go forward, and that if there be full transparency to the budget, and because that is at the end of the day going back to what the student success is going to be as well as the staff success. So I'm all for being able to push for more of that accountability.
Okay, thank you very much. Ida?
I think the devil's in the details, and there's nothing that replaces boots on the ground. So I think that spending time on the campuses and interacting not only with faculty and staff, but also with students. One innovative idea that I received at a meeting recently was there's a Board of Regents in South Texas that has a student regent member that has a vote. Perhaps by adding some more student voice to what the regents see, and how a student reporting base that could help interact with the regents directly would give a more well-rounded perspective. I think also making sure that the regents are asking the right kind of questions, because the staff can only give the information that you're asking for. And so making sure that you're getting the reports on the things that are most important compiled for you is also important. And then ensuring that people see your face, because if you're just a name behind a phone call every now and then the feeling of connection and accountability for them to the regent and for the regent back to them is lost. So I think FaceTime literally is important.
All right, very good, thank you. And Matthew?
Yes, I'll look at this from two ways. From the principal or the chancellor portion, I would like us to be an advisory board, if nothing else. Like build that trust in him or her to where we are a part of the conversations. We are a part of the decision. It's not a micromanagement thing. It's a team in itself with one dedication to improving the student body, improving education. So be it rebuilding that trust or whatever the miscommunication or disconnect is there, I think that's a great place to start. But also on the student side, I don't see any situation where someone should be filling out their own report card of how good they're doing with us not seeing the actual results ourselves. We have to have a student liaison. We have to have connection with students on campus, be it with student press, developing student liaisons, interacting with centers of influences on base. There are kids out there that are taking positions on campus that are putting themselves to where they do have a pulse on what's going on. And these could be students that have a future career in politics, a future career in public service. They could benefit from a mentorship or opportunity to combine with us on the regent situation, but not to undermine the school in no way, but just to provide a whole picture of how we can support. And that's why I think it's good to do it from both sides, because in no way red tape, more checks and balances make stuff harder to get done. But if we have a board of people to support you, why not utilize them in a positive way?
Right, thank you all.
All right, this next question goes to Ida first and then Matthew. The NSHE Code affirms the importance of academic freedom and tenure. Could you please explain your understanding of academic freedom and tenure in higher education? What is the value of academic freedom and tenure for a system of higher education? Ida?
Well, being married to a scientist, I'm going to start with the example of Galileo. How many people didn't like his idea about the universe? And so I think academic freedom is important because it's vital to the scientific method. It's important to be able to hear lots of different perspectives and to teach students create critical thinking. And I think that one way to mitigate concerns about what a student is searching for and what a professor is providing would be to have very clear syllabuses so that there's an understanding of what's going to be taught within a course. but it's important that professors have the academic freedom to present all of the viewpoints that are within their field.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, next.
Yes, academic freedom is something that I feel like you cannot trample, no matter if you do it. The more you do it, it's just going to draw a light to it. All education is education, good, bad. We can't cherry pick what we don't want in there, but what we can do is have it properly defined and track its success on how this is actually benefiting what is the outcome. And that goes back to what I was saying, drawing a clearer picture to success for these students as they're going into these classrooms and they're enrolling into these colleges. They need to know, like Ida said, a proper syllabus where they know an idea what they're getting themselves into, what they expect to learn. And we need to draw a better picture of how that's going to benefit them on the outside. Who is that going to benefit? Who is looking for those type of things? But that comes down to academic freedom. To me, doesn't mean you show up and you, however you feel is how you teach. Is bringing a creative approach that has a new perspective to teaching. So you should be able to define it. And then on the outcome, we should be able to track it and see if it's something that our students are actually gaining from and it's working.
Okay, thank you. Carlos, same question about academic freedom and tenure.
Absolutely. So my understanding of academic freedom and tenure, academic freedom, of course, granting faculty the opportunity to teach and research and express ideas as they come without having to worry about repercussions for what those ideas are. Tenure, of course, being able to provide that job security for those who are highly specialized in their field and who have dedicated their career into academia and being able to teach these different viewpoints. Both, of course, go hand in hand. I think we're seeing this in campuses now more than ever with a lot of different movements that are going across the country. I believe higher education is the place for people to be able to have public discourse, and that is something that we must protect at all costs. I know that there are news articles coming from different institutions from around the country and even globally where a lot of this is being stifled, and that's something that I think the Board of Regents need to really always be able to be ready to step up and step in whenever something like that does happen. I know that there are accountability measures that do exist, whether it be within the institution itself or even sometimes having to go up to the level of the regents, but at the end of the day, we must protect both. And I'm really proud of being able to continue to have public discourse on the campus, because that is how we become a better society because of it, understanding different viewpoints that we may or may not agree with, but being able to know that academia and higher education is the place to be able to go about it.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up. So part of the idea of academic freedom is that the idea behind it is that faculty are the people with the expertise in their areas to make decisions about education of the students. And so in that light, and that's what we call shared governance in higher education. The question is, what decisions should be left to the faculty versus policies that are set by the Board of Regents? And we're starting with Ida.
I'm sorry, it glitched and I only got half of the question. Could I have you repeat it?
Now can't
You're muted, Kent.
I'm muted, sorry. In light of the tradition of shared governance, which is part of academic freedom, what decisions should be left to the faculty versus policies that are set by the Board of Regents?
So my husband is a geophysicist, and I would never think that I could tell him anything about seismology. That's his field. And so I think that the Board of Regents should take a step back and allow the experts to be the experts. And only in the instance where there's gross negligence, that they be brought in. So I think that it really needs to stay in the hands of the experts, because that's what they are.
Okay, Matthew.
Yes, as I said before, my grandfather taught school for 42 years. I never saw him as frustrated until his last couple of years when he was having people from the state come down and regulate how he was able to teach to the point where it was affecting him to effectively teach his students. I never want to be in a situation where we're preventing the thinkers and innovators from thinking and innovating. I would like to see ways where our teachers do have the creative freedom to modernize our learning process up to date to where what we're dealing with technology, social media, and everything to make it more attentive to students. And then we come together with their ideas and their innovations, and we figure out how to make it happen, if it can make it happen, what a timeline would look like to make happen. Not here to stifle any creation, any innovation. I want the people who know what they're doing to be a voice to us so we can support them in those roles. Because at the end of the day, we have to be able to do it together. I'm not stepping on their toes. I just need to be able to know what we need to execute, if we can execute it, what a timeline would look like. So it's a cooperative.
Okay, thank you. Carlos?
I think it's truly based on understanding what the faculty role is with the shared governance and what the Board of Regents role is. Faculty is there in terms of academic freedom to develop curriculum and the academic standards within each individual field. It is important that you all remain the experts in what you're experts in, that you all do your own hiring. I've known some regents that have tried to go into institutions saying, I don't like this person, all of that. I've seen it firsthand. I've heard it firsthand, and that's unacceptable. That is should be and will always remain within the control of the faculty. Also, the research initiatives. Board of Regents should not be saying what all of you should be researching. It really should be up to you within that shared governance. The Board of Regents have very specific roles, and it really is based on more strategic planning and the policy aspect. They're supposed to be there to do financial oversight, and they're supposed to do institutional governance. Everything else should really fall in the hands of the faculty and staff because they really are their subject matter experts in their fields, and that should continue to be the case.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I have the next question, which does focus on the tragic events that happened at UNLV last semester. At that event, faculty of color were the targets of that awful violence that erupted in December on the UNLV campus. Whether it was due to a racist motivation or not, and faculty of color were rattled. How do you propose to keep all faculty safe in an environment where there are lists of faculty kept by extremist hate groups and faculty realize that they may be harassed when teaching on topics that are considered controversial? And we'll start with Matthew and then Carlos and then Ida.
Yes, I know this has been a touching topic, and my heart goes out to everyone affected by the UNLV shooting. To me, it's simple. When I was in the military here on base, we did exercises. I believe a solution to a lot of people's anxiety, insecurities, safety is education and preparedness. I'm a minority. I grew up in Arkansas. I have been in situations to where I didn't feel safe or I felt uncomfortable because of my skin tone. But the reality is, the more I prepared myself, the more I was educated, the more safe I felt. I learned that in the military. I was a trainer for self-aid buddy care. That is where I trained people getting ready to deploy on how to handle a situation. If a firefight broke out, people got injured, people got shot, how to handle the wounded. When you panic, you go back to your training when things hit the fan. I know it's not always comfortable training or exercising these things. It can be traumatic for some people, but the reality is this: people attack who are unprepared and aren't available. I do not want our schools to get militarized where teachers are obligated to carry guns and protect students, but we have to be able to use the technology available to us to safe our campuses and prepare our teachers and students for the worst that can happen.
Thank you. Carlos, next.
Thank you. I personally know folks who were affected by these traumatic events, and I know those faculty of color who are also directly affected. And I think that it's scary. I think that we have a lot of resources, and something that really hurt me through this process that it usually is higher ed. It was UNLV when we had the Route 91 tragedy that provided the resources. And then when this now happened to this campus, it was hard to be able to get those resources there because UNLV was always the resource for the community. I think we need to be able to have these very frank and honest conversations with our faculty and staff to ask what it is they need in order for them to be able to feel safe in their own jobs. In talking to some folks at UNLV themselves, they were afraid of going back to work. They felt anxiety in being able to do that. And I know that affects everybody, that affects students as well, but that does come to disproportionate effect faculty of color who are teaching on topics that people deem inappropriate, et cetera. It's tied, of course, directly to the academic freedom, but also in going back to our people being our greatest asset, it also takes that one-on-one sort of conversation to be able to understand what resources are needed. I will actually say, in talking to the university president, UNLV, Dr. Whitfield, I feel that he's done a really good job at being able to communicate almost weekly sometimes, and even several emails that I've received just through my involvement with the Alumni Association, being able to let people know what they're doing, more security on campus. This is how you're able to recognize who they are. They're also being able to, asking for more funding in order to ensure that not only the security can be kept, but that other measures be added on to ensure that faculty and staff continue to feel safe in their workplace. I know that it's hard to be able to rebuild from this, but I also do want to be able to commend those faculty and staff that were able to step up, even though they were going through their own traumatic moments, and be able to voice some of those concerns, especially for those that didn't feel that they had a voice. I think that continues to be the case, but I want to make sure that we do continue to meet our people where they're at.
Thank you. Ida, same question.
My heart was also broken with the tragedy, and then in the same turn, it was buoyanted up as I respond. Sorry. I think it's important that we make sure that we are utilizing technology and experts. As a Board of Regents, we wouldn't be experts on security, but we would have the ability to create partnerships with people that are. Bring in teams that can tell us how to use technology the best, be an advocate to the legislature to loosen up those purse strings and provide the funding that we need in order to make sure that our campuses can stay open, but that our professors' offices are protected better. We need to have some more protection for our faculty's personal information. Judges are a protected group who don't have their addresses published. And I think that adding faculty to a legislative bill would be an option as well in order to protect their personal information from going public. They shouldn't have to worry about their families based off of what's being taught inside their classrooms. And I would also like to see more sense of community happening on the campuses, so that when you see something, you say something. One of the things I've heard being on campus is that because a lot of our campuses in Nevada are transient, or not transient, but people drive to them instead of live on the campus, that people come to campus and then leave. And I'd like to see more activities happening that create that sense of community, so that when people see something, they say something.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. This question will start first with Carlos, then go on to Ida, and then Matthew. The majority of students that NSHE serves come from first generation and historically minoritized backgrounds. What initiatives and supports do you think are crucial, not only to help with recruitment, but also the retention of these students? Carlos?
Thank you. Having been a former student body president at UNLV, my greatest sense of pride of being able to be a graduate from there is its diversity. I was always proud to be able to say that UNLV, while I was there, I know it's always in competition, is the most diverse institution in the nation, and that's incredible. I think it's being able to continue to share that message with others. While I was at UNLV, I'm still also a member of Nu Alpha Kappa fraternity, a Latino-based organization. A lot of my fraternity brothers are first-generation college students. Being able to have a support system where we understand one another and can help provide resources to them. I would say that when I first went to school, I didn't have as many resources as I ended with, but being able to continue to showcase what is around and being able to understand that each student is very different, but each student really needs to be treated as an individual and not just the number, to be able to get them to the finish line. And that's something that I think we always struggle with, but also understanding and being able to be proud of our diversity. I think that there are a lot of incredible events that showcase what we do and what we have here. But in terms of even the earlier conversation of budgets, et cetera, we need to be able to hire more diverse faculty and staff to be able to reflect who is on our college campuses, so that students can also see themselves in these different positions of growth. So I'm always been very proud of this, always been very proud of being able to be a supporter of DACA and the other programs like that acknowledge that some students have different access to connections, et cetera, but that we need to treat them with respect, and we need to be able to continue to believe in them and their success.
All right, thank you. Ida, to you.
Thank you. As a Latina, this definitely hits home. I attended Brigham Young University, which was a predominantly not minority campus, but I served as a student body secretary there my senior year, which happened to be the year of the Olympics. And so the opportunity to interact on an international stage is something that really gave me some great perspectives on how to help with the minority communities. I think one of the things that we really need to do is tap into their strengths. One of those is family. And the more that you can communicate with and build with the entire family unit will help strengthen the individual student. And some of that begins before they even get to our campus. And that would be reaching out to those families when they're at the high school level, helping educate them on the array of opportunities and the array of positions that they can be going for, and also the funding that's out there. A lot of people feel that the door is closed before they even take a chance at knocking on it. And so not only is the Nevada system a wonderful asset to the Latin culture, but also we have a large Tagalog speaking culture here and Mandarin speaking culture here in Vegas. And so I would like to see language translation opportunities around campus so that parents feel like they can come and interact with their child's campus more easily. There's some great AI technology that the city of North Las Vegas is using that we could implement on the campuses without it taking a lot of budget.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Matthew?
I think a lot of this just comes down to understanding and adaptation. Well, you know, I grew up in a low income area as a minority, Augusta, Arkansas, 1,600 people. I graduated with a class of 32 out of high school. I know a lot of people who were the first generation coming out, and they were the first generation coming back, you know, that next semester, that next year. The reality is this: us as a school system, we have to be able to accommodate the new face of education. If these are the students we're bringing in, and I know a portion of it is military veterans that are getting out of the military here. This is a big military city. We want them to come to our campuses. We want them to come to our colleges. We cannot continue to be branded and market to these students the way that we have marketed to students forever. And that's why I say we have to rebrand education and draw a clearer picture to success. These students are coming to school not looking to be the biggest scientists in the world. They're looking to create them a position in their family to where they can create some generational wealth. We have to be able to draw a clearer picture to, I know you're first generation. I can put you with mentors who are first generation. And if you take this path right here, this is going to lead you to a casino that wants to hire you, a law firm that wants to hire you, a restaurant that wants to. This is a clearer picture to success so that they have a buy-in. I would also like to see us do something proactive and put a grant writing program, grant writing teaching in place before they even come into the college campus. That way we're allowing these students to go for opportunities, low-hanging fruit that's already out there, money that's already been allocated for them to go to school to make it more appealing.
Thank you.
All right, I have the next question. In the November general election, there's a ballot question to remove the Board of Regents from the Constitution. And so that will either pass or it won't. But our question to you related to that is, if there were no constitutional or statutory limitations, what changes to NSHE governance or structure would you support and why? And we'll go to Ida first and then Matthew.
Well, some of the changes that are already on the board are changing the districts from 13 down to 9. And I think that it's really important that we don't let the rural communities' voices get lost. So any future changes, I would want to make sure that there is a continued voice across the entire state, since it really truly is a state board. I would also encourage that there be a better working relationship between the legislature and NG, so that the common goal isn't lost in the clatter.
Okay, Matthew's next.
I apologize. I misunderstood the question at the front. Could you repeat it for me?
Yeah, so if there weren't any constitutional or statute limitations, what changes to the NC governance or structure would you support and why?
Honestly, I think, I saw where they're trying to remove the Board of Regents from the Constitution. There's some miscommunication or not able to properly coordinate between legislation and the Board of Regents. To me, I just don't feel like that's an acceptable reason, personally. I would love to just see more coordination across the whole thing. I mean, if we're actually here for the students, we're actually here to provide a better education for students, which is going to add to our future. If there's no backdoor handshake agreements, no pre-organized conversations, then I don't see any reason why we all can't come together at least once, twice a year, however many times it takes, to coordinate and communicate on a higher level. Maybe we need a liaison for them on our side, and a liaison for them on our side to run communications. I don't know what it is, but at the end of the day, if we can't coordinate and it comes to a point to where it's like, hey, I just want to vote your position out to not exist, we're just running from the opportunity to create a better environment for our students. It's a poor excuse.
Carlos, same question.
Thank you. Well, I've been a great advocate of removing the Board of Regents from the Constitution. This is something that goes back to my work at the Vegas Chamber of Commerce, because realistically, when we talk to legislators, they feel, and many of the regents have been operating the Board of Regents system as a fourth branch of government. And I believe that to be unacceptable. It's been a lot about demanding things without accountability for them. And I think being able to remove them from the Constitution, or in a perfect world, if that's more where the question is related to, I think there needs to be subject matter experts that sit on the Board of Regents. There are some folks that say some things that about education or making decisions for students and faculty without having stepped foot in a college campus, being able to ask those of you and students what it is that they need in order for them to be successful. So I think if this were to be removed from the Constitution, it gives the governor and the legislature more of an oversight as to a body that's really not been accountable before. And they have not been accountable not only to the legislature, but our students, our faculty, our staff, and the rest of our community. So I'm glad that we have now reduced the board term from 6 years to 4. I think that helps add some accountability, because people who are running are now having to be more accountable to their own community every time they do so. But we're also seeing some really ridiculous things that I want our higher education system to be able to be recognized internationally, not because of something a region says, but because of the accolades that a lot of our institutions are taking on. I'm really proud of where our campuses are today, but that needs to be top of mind. So I'm for accountability for the Board of Regents themselves, and accountability and the opportunity to be able to add more experts into the board, whether there be voting members, if it were to be out of the Constitution, or we take more of an approach like CCSD to be able to have appointees from the municipalities around in order to be able to voice some of those concerns as well.
Chantel, do we have time for the follow-up?
Probably not, but are people okay staying a few minutes longer?
Yes, ma'am.
I see nods, so.
Okay, so I'll go ahead. So one proposal that's been out there, including from some of the people who are in favor of question 1, is a proposal to separate the community colleges from the rest of the system of higher education, or have separate boards of trustees for each institution. What's your position or thoughts on that? And we'll go to Ida first.
I think first of all, I need more information. I can see great value in both, keeping them together and separating them. But I think it's important that the community colleges who are really targeting a lot more of our workforce get the funding that they need. So I'd like to see what the financial benefit would be on that type of separation. So I'm very open to a discussion about it. Absolutely.
Matthew is next on that. Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry, Matthew is next.
No, it's okay, Ken. Yeah, it's a tough one. To me, I wouldn't want it to seem like we are trimming the fat or we're deciding to separate the two to show favor to the other. Like I said, I grew up in an area where we didn't have the large income or the large support for our schools, so the schools suffered. You know, I think the goal here is to increase education all the way around. If, you know, that can be benefited by separating the two, then that lets me know that the work is such a heavy load that one board can't do it all by itself. But I think that there should be a way that we all come together and we could do this as one without having to cut anyone out or eliminate anybody, separate. And it just comes down to negotiation at the end of the day. Going to each of the parties, finding out what they need most, what values they can add, and then we come together and coming up with a plan that can do it for them. It's our job to do this. We can't just start eliminating things and separating things because we don't want to work harder. If we are not capable of doing it, then that's on us. We can't just go reorganizing the system to do what fits us best. That's just how I see it. But at the end of the day, I'm always open to any innovative new ways that's going to benefit both parties and benefit the teachers and the students in the long run. I just don't want it being people take an easy way out.
Carlos, thank you. Carlos is next.
Thank you. I've actually had a conversation with the senator who brought this bill forward. Honestly, I don't quite know where I fall on it. I think if given the opportunity to be able to advocate this to the legislature, seeing what the benefits are. Obviously, our institutions do provide different sort of services to our community, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. But I also see it in a different way. Right now, the Board of Regents are going through an updated funding formula, and I think that is a way, and a really equitable way, to be able to give the sort of resources that community colleges need versus universities, et cetera, to be able to run efficiently in the way that they need, with the proper funding that they need to be able to do so. So I don't know if the proper solution is to separate, the higher universities and colleges, et cetera. But I would be open to it, especially being able to hear from all of you, students and community members, as to what the pros and cons of that would be.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so we don't have questions from the audience, which is why I felt comfortable adding the follow-up question. And so now, if you can believe it, we are at time. We would love to give each candidate a couple of minutes to give your closing statement. You can, of course, include any information we didn't ask you about that you might want to let us know, or reiterate any of your points that you made answering our questions. We will go in the opposite order that we started the opening statements with. So we will have Ida go first, and then Carlos, and then Matt.
Well, thank you again for having us here tonight. It's a wonderful opportunity to interact with people that are stakeholders in such an important event. I believe in the bright future of Nevada, and I want to be a contributing factor to the growth and legacy of Nevada's university system. I have three main things that I'm standing on: affordability, accessibility, and accountability. One of the things is that I didn't get to touch on it previously was creating a pathway for veterans that are pursuing graduate degrees. I'd like to see the opportunity to perhaps waive their GRE and GMAT scores and utilize their workforce experience as in place of that. There's over 100 campuses across the country that already do that. I'd like to see us extend something like that to our wonderful veteran community. And I'd really like to see us prioritizing educational opportunities that we can meet those evolving market demands. Am I allowed to give my website information? Okay, so and more information about me as a candidate can be found at www.idazeiler.com, and that's IDAZEILER.com. Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you all again for the opportunity to be able to address all of you. I'm Carlos Fernandez, and I'm proud to be a candidate that is endorsed by business, labor, and education. I feel that I am qualified to be able to take on this role because I understand the community. I understand Nevada well, and I've been part of that solution in the past. I see this as an opportunity to continue my service, not only to our higher education institutions, but also to our community as a whole and our state. I want to be able to be an advocate for students, faculty, staff, and businesses, and be able to really bridge that gap amongst all of them. I think that my endorsements really speak to that and be able to be that connector amongst our industries and our state in order for us to be able to continue to grow. Higher education has changed a lot even within the last few years. And I think we need to be able to have somebody who's a visionary that can really look forward and determine what higher education would look like so that policies are helpful for faculty, staff, and students to be able to grow in these different systems that the Board of Regents oversees. So I do appreciate the time again. My website is Fernandez, the number 4, NV.com. And my email is there, my number is there, and I'd be happy to address any questions offline as well. So thank you all again for your time.
Thank you. Matthew, floor is yours.
Yes, ma'am. Listen, my platform's simple. I appreciate the opportunity. My platform's simple. I'm here to rebrand education with innovation. This is something that has to happen at some point. We have to adapt how we market education to our students. We have to adapt how we draw a better picture to success from the kids who are coming out of high school into college. There's a bunch of shiny lights, a bunch of billboards, a bunch of movies, a bunch of opportunities that all paint a picture about Vegas. How many of them are about the education system? We are in control of those things as a city. We just have to market better. We have to rebrand our education better. We have to adapt where short form media is taking over these kids' brains, be it TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, different things. We have to adapt how we're educating our students, how we're marketing, educating our students, and paint a better picture to success for our students incoming. And I want to be the person that helps paint that picture. My name is Matthew Bowen. My email is matthew.t.bowen@campaignfordistrict1, the number 1, and the number 4.net. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much to our candidates. I know that the campaign season is a tough one to find time in on top of your busy lives and everything else that you have going on. So we really do appreciate the time that you made for us today. In terms of next steps, we are hoping to finish up our endorsement process by the end of next week, and you would be hearing from us once we've made our decisions on that. If we have not received your questionnaires, we are also basing our decisions on those answers, so we would love to get those as well. And I would love to see if Jim or Kent have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up.
No, I'll just echo Chantel's thanks. We know it's a very busy time for you, and taking time out of your evening for us is greatly appreciated, and we wish you all the best of luck with your campaigns.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. And if you have any questions or would like to reach out, we're available. Our addresses are on the website, and be happy to talk with you offline also.
Definitely have my email. So you're welcome to contact me if you do have any questions. So we will wrap up, and you will hear from us once we have made our decisions. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Kent or Jim, and we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you, Chantel. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kent. I'll see you soon.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too.